This is an important point to understand. As we let ourselves grow and expand into the people we desire to be, there is an emotion that we are promised to meet outside our comfort zone, and that's fear. And here's the thing, you won't really get to know what you're afraid of until you get outside of your comfort zone. So from inside your comfort zone, you actually don't really know what you're afraid of until you expand. Now, ultimately, this is a gift. You see, your fear is simply information. It lets you know what's going on for you psychologically. Most of the time, our suffering is something that's created internally. So it's really important to know what we're afraid of so that we can understand it. So here's the thing. When you know that when you go outside of your comfort zone, you will meet your fear, and you still choose to grow outside of your comfort zone, then you, my friend, are living in a state of courage. And to have courage means to have an open heart. And when your heart is open, it is easy to transform that fear back into what it really is, which is excitement, joy, and love. Go get it. Welcome to this week's Karma Cards. So for this week, it's a really interesting message that's coming through. But first, let me talk to you about the energies. So here we are. Mercury retrograde has started, and it's in the sign of Gemini, which is Mercury's, one of Mercury's signs it rules, which means it's kind of at its peak strength, which means it's really affecting communication. Of course, I've already had some tech issues with it, which is what's to be expected. But what else is happening that's really interesting is what's happening with Jupiter. So first, let me talk about Mercury. With Mercury retrograde, it's generally advised that it's a time to slow down and sort of retrace your steps. Like, just look at how are things connected in my life? How did I get from point A to point B? And was there anything I missed along the way of making that connection? So it's generally not a time for starting things. It's a time for reassessing things. So that's happening. But then we also have today with this big shift of Jupiter moving into the sign of Aries. So Jupiter was in Pisces and it's now shifted into Aries. That means that the planet of expansion and abundance is now moving forward with ferocity. It's like, let's get the party started with Aries. Aries loves to get things going. It likes to leap before it looks and start something new. So the interesting thing is we've got these two energies sort of juxtaposing each other. This energy that's like, yeah, I've got all this positive energy to get things started. And another energy that's creating sort of delays, asking you to thoroughly look things over before you just leap into anything. So again, what you want to do with this energy is you really want to slow down. It's really intense, especially for those of us who have a lot of Aries energy. We kind of feel this energy pick up in our signature. And we're like, yeah, it's go time. We just have to be really careful about what we're going into. So again, the caution here is to slow down and assess, because at the end of this week, right at the very end, so really Sunday night for Pacific time zone, and for the rest of the world, it's really Monday the 16th, but we have a full moon plus a full lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio, which is deep diving, deep digging in, and a lot of purging. So a lot of Plutonian energy comes up with that. We've got this Pluto type purge that comes with this full moon, and the full moon's all about releasing, but this one's emphasis is really strongly about things coming up that are ready to let go of. And it might be connected to what we're backtracking and looking over with Mercury. So again, we've got a lot of intense energy coming up this week. And what the team guided me to talk about is our most intense emotion. So I'm going to ask you, do you know what the most intense human emotion is? Go ahead and type it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'll give you a minute here. Okay, the most intense human emotion is fear. Yay! It's true. It's our most intense human emotion. Now, you may have put love, which is what I was tempted to say is love, where love is more persistent and consistent. Love is not the most intense. Fear is the most intense. It can literally make you sort of leave your critical thinking behind because that's how intense it is, right? It triggers the fight or flight, the need to survive. And we can't get into critical thinking. We can't stop and assess and get in touch with our feelings when fear is going on. That's how intense it is. So the reason I bring it up is because with Jupiter and Aries, we're looking at expansion in a big way. A lot of happy, positive energy to go out there and really put yourself out there, which is a great thing. And I am a big fan of people growing in the direction of their destiny. It's literally what I love to coach and teach on. And here's the thing. When you go big, when you start expanding outside of your comfort zone, the first or most prominent feeling you're going to run into is fear. So I want to just point out the difference here that fear isn't what gets you to leave your comfort zone. In some cases it can actually. But usually it's another emotion like you're feeling empowered or you're excited or you feel determined. These are the things that get us to step outside the comfort zone. I'm talking about when you're outside your comfort zone and then you really get to find out what you're afraid of. And this is an interesting point. I was actually in a coaching session with my coach, and she was talking about this with us, and she made such a strong point. It's something that you know, but you never really think about. And that's the fact that you think you know what you're afraid of when you're inside your comfort zone. You have a story that you're comfortable with, that you tell yourself, like, I'm afraid of being seen, or I'm afraid of failing, or I'm afraid that I'm not good enough. When really, when you step outside your comfort zone fully, you find out what the real story is underneath that there's usually something deeper, right, that you hadn't really seen consciously yet. And every time you go outside your comfort zone, you're definitely going to be met by this fear. And that's because your survival instinct kicks in when you're outside your circle of comfort. So it makes sense. And the reason I'm being asked to share this with you is because my team wants me to address the fact that we often get mixed signals as soon as we step outside our comfort zone. So when we're in there, we're thinking about how we want to grow and expand. And as soon as we step outside, not only are we doing it from a place of excitement and empowerment, but then we also get these fear signals kicking in, and it causes us to doubt ourselves. So I want to bring this to your attention so that as you do try to grow bigger, you're aware of the fact that fear is definitely going to meet you. It's going to be there, and it's not a bad thing. And I think that's the thing that a lot of us trip over, is that as we expand outside of ourself, we start to meet parts of ourselves that we haven't acknowledged or addressed yet, that we maybe didn't even know existed. And it's so easy to sort of fall into a trap that this must be wrong then. If I'm having uncomfortable feelings or if I'm having fear, then maybe I'm doing something wrong and I should retreat. So I want to give you this awareness so that when you meet your fear, you have an awareness that this is a gift. It's giving you more information. It's showing you how you psychologically operate, and this is a good thing. It's ultimately a gift, so that when you try to expand yourself and you meet these uncomfortable feelings, you don't take it as a cue that you're wrong. Instead, you see that you're doing something very right. So when you know that fear awaits you outside of your comfort zone, when you're really clear about that, and you choose to step outside your comfort zone and grow anyway, then you are acting from a place of courage. Now remember, courage comes from the word cœur, which is French for heart, and it literally means the open heart. And so many texts talk about ascension. So bringing this back to my favorite topic, ascension. Ascension is coming from the heart chakra, because that's the chakra, that's the level of consciousness we are ascending to, is the fourth density, right? That's the lessons of love. So all of our growth is going to come from having that open heart. Courage means your heart is open. So when you know there's fear, but you choose to take action anyway, you're willing to meet your fear, you're doing so with an open heart. That's why I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said you should do something that scares you every day, because doing something that scares you, like meeting your own fear, literally opens your heart. It helps you expand. It helps you raise the level of your vibration up to the 4D level, and you're expanding your consciousness there as well. You're starting to live from a more open and expanded place. And here's the beautiful thing. When you're willing to meet your fear transforms. So our whole thing about meeting fear is that I'm going to meet fear and I'm going to be terrified. And the reality is, when you're willing to meet your fear, you actually start to see under it, and it naturally transforms itself, because all it's trying to do is give you information about maybe the way you've been trying to protect yourself. But by being willing to step into your open heart space and have courage, that becomes a new form of protection for you on your journey into growing into the person that you desire to be. So just to be contrary for a moment, let's talk about what happens when you're not willing to meet your fear. So again, courage acts as a form of protection, allowing you to transform your fear. If you're not willing to look at your fear ends up being in charge of you. It ends up running your life. And then we start manifesting from the place of what we don't want. So whatever we resist persists. And a really good metaphor for this comes up when we talk about dreams or nightmares. So in lucid dreaming, if you were to end up lucid dreaming inside a nightmare, and let's say some scary character was chasing you through your dreams, it's been measured and known as a fact that if you continue to run, it just chases you, right? Because what you resist persists. In lucid dreaming, the technique that we get is we stop and we turn around and we could say, what? What do you want? But just stop running, turn around and face it. And the minute we face it, whatever we're facing starts to communicate with us. It starts giving us information. And then ultimately what we do with that information can help it transform. And sometimes what happens is it disappears. Many times it transforms into something that is small, innocent, lovely, benevolent. Many times it's your inner child that's been chasing you in the dream. But what's important to know here is that you, just like stepping outside of your comfort zone and knowing you're going to be confronted by your own fear and having a willingness to face it, helps you have protection from your own fear. In this instance, the willingness to turn around and stop running and face it transforms the fear as well. It takes the power back. So if we continue to let ourselves be run by what we're afraid of and play small, we actually never get to leave fear. Fear never leaves us in that instant. So if we're staying small and contained inside our comfort zone, thinking that fear won't get us if we stay here, the truth is it's almost like you took fear in as a roommate and now you're living with it daily because what you're resisting it, right? You're like, I don't want to feel it. I don't want to see it. And it's like, okay, I'm moving in and I'm going to hang out with you every day, every day. So there is so much power in being willing to look at it. Even if you stay inside your comfort zone, look at it, talk to it, because that is the way you start dissipating the intensity of the emotion, but you also allow it to give you information, because ultimately every single feeling we have is a gift, it's a teacher, it's guiding us towards our destiny all the time. So with that, now let's look at some karma cards for this week. All right, if you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what is the message you have for us this week? And I have 2 sets of answers, a set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with that beautiful intuition of yours and feel into what you need. Do you need action-related answers right now, or would you like to know outcomes over the current week? And of course, you can always choose both. And while you're choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is from May 12th through the 19th. And the flavor of this reading, we have a Mars, action-oriented Mars, who rules Aries, by the way. So it's interesting that that comes up because we did talk about Jupiter in the sign of Aquarius. So we've got new age energy here. In the 2nd house, which is ruled by Taurus, which is all about possessions, worth, value, what we find worthy and worthwhile. For those of you choosing action, your spiritual action is to energize your vision patiently. All right, so this is directly talking about that the juxtaposition between Jupiter in Aries, which is your vision, and Mercury retrograde in Gemini, which is the patiently part. So what they're saying is allow this new positive influx of I can do it energy to fill you up without letting it out yet. Does that make sense? So they're showing me a couple of things, like a balloon getting filled with air, or they're showing me like a swimming pool being filled with water. Let it fill you up and do not expend that energy. We're simply taking it in right now. So the action is to take it in. Mental action at this time: confront what is new and different about what you want. So interesting. I feel like it ties really well into the message that came earlier from the team to confront, face what's new and different. So new and different meaning, according to what we were talking about, is the fear that you don't know that you have around what you want. So again, as we're stepping in the direction of our desire, stepping out of our little home space and onto the path of destiny, we're going to be confronted by what's new and different. Like the thing we thought we were afraid of when we were in our house is very different when we're on the path. And the metaphor I'm hearing is, in the house, maybe you were afraid it was cold outside. But when you're on the path, you're like, crap, there might be wolves out here. Like you just didn't anticipate that back there. And it's just, remember, facing it means we're looking squarely at it. We're not running. We're not avoiding. We're not suppressing. We're heading, we're looking at it head on. Physical action at this time: force yourself to use an unconventional way and get what you need. So again, going back to what we're talking about, I feel like the unconventional way is to face your fear head on. It's not unconventional as in no one's talked about this or it's a new approach. It's unconventional because our thinking brain is like, get the hell out of there, right? That is the thought, is a survival instinct of like, oh shit, fight or flight. I got to either take this on or run. Where an unconventional way is to sit, imagine if you were confronted by a wolf or a werewolf or something that was like intimidating and scary. And our gut instinct is to run the hell away. An unconventional way would be to be like, hi, my name's Therese, and your name, and like, why are you here? And do we need to talk to each other? Is an unconventional way to approach it. Notice I'm not saying a practical way, it's an unconventional way to approach it. Because again, we're talking about the figurative, scary things. And I did point out that the fear that comes up is predominantly psychological. Predominantly. That doesn't mean that there isn't some things that are dangerous. Like if you have a dream of like skydiving, right? And one day you're like, okay, I'm just going to get up and go out and do it. Obviously, there's going to be an instinctual fear of, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I need to get some instruction here. That fear of safety, that's a real fear. But the fear of like, I don't know, of screaming like a little kid on your way down, and that's why you don't want to do it. That's a psychological fear, right? Because you don't want people to see you screaming your head off or something like that. So again, these cards are saying that you want to take an unconventional approach to what you're afraid of, and that's going to get you what you need, which is information in this case. All right, so now let's check out outcomes in Mars in Aquarius in the second house of worth and value. The spiritual outcome at this time is the drive for genius to experiment with your beliefs. So they're letting us know that this approach is really invigorating, that it's actually going to create some open mind aha moments, right? So the genius is the one with the open mind. And it's going to allow you to actually open up some belief systems, which is really good because, again, what's interesting is belief is so powerful, but it can create a fixed mindset. And if that fixed mindset happens to be one that's actually self-detrimental, right? So you believe in like, I can't do it, other people are successful, I'm not, or I'm too old, or I don't know enough, or I'm too young, or whatever it is, those are fixed beliefs that are detrimental. So what this does is it gives you the ability to experiment and open up with your beliefs. Like if I can face this fear and I survive it, right? I'm facing a fear of being imperfect or something like that, and I'm surviving it. What else can I do? What else is possible? And the mind opens up. Mental outcome at this time. The confronting of the discovery of what you value. So not only when you face your fear, you don't just get information about what you're afraid of. You also get information about what's really important to you. And this is a really powerful moment to get clarity. So our values help shape the direction that we go in. It helps shape us as a person. It helps us know if what we're valuing is in core alignment with ourselves. For example, you might think that you don't really value money. Like you just wish you didn't have to deal with it. But you find out that you really value freedom. And you start to understand that having a certain amount of money gives you the freedom you desire. And so you start to reconnect the thoughts differently, right? In this space of self-discovery and understanding value, you get more clarity, which again allows you to open up those beliefs, look at them, and possibly even rewire them so that they actually create the desired outcome you're looking for, instead of creating two kind of janky, disjointed values. They start actually working with each other to create the ultimate outcome you desire. Physical outcome at this time, action resulting from the eccentricity of your resources. And here's another thing. This is something you can't quite know. It isn't until you put yourself out there that you become more aware of what resources are available to you. And that, again, is because you're opening up the mind. So you're actually opening up several centers of intelligence when you move outside your comfort zone. Of course, your body intelligence turns on because that's your awareness system that's going to kick in and just give you like a check-in point with what is authentic and what isn't. You're opening up your heart because you're dealing with life through an open heart of courage and a willingness to face things. You're opening up the mind and opening up old belief structures and really testing them and seeing, does this actually serve me anymore, or has it been getting in my way this whole time? So when we open up all of these centers, we become aware of resources that may have been hiding in plain sight, like people, their life experience, their knowledge that they can pass to us, just opportunities that we weren't seeing because we were so shut down. These all start to really flourish and open up for us as we open our own centers. And again, they're saying it feels really, so eccentricity is the word coming from Aquarius here, but it just means it's something that's, outside of your current operating system. So it feels eccentric because it's something you don't normally engage in. So it's letting you know that resources that you'd never noticed before are suddenly available to you. And it's kind of like, I didn't realize I could move in that direction. And then from there, you start to take action. I hope today's message was valuable for you. I hope it helps you have that beautiful courage to open up your heart, know that it's safe to step outside, and as you face the things that you have been maybe avoiding or holding back from, you're going to see that that was the key you needed to move forward the whole time. And with that, I'm sending you so much love. Mwah. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.